Your addiction to working too much is actually an addiction to avoiding yourself. The constant urge to keep doing more, the never-ending to-do list, and the productivity obsession is actually an escape. Because the moment you slow down, you feel it all. You feel the anxiety, you feel the emptiness, you feel the guilt for not doing enough. I see this over and over again with the high performers that I work with. They're addicted to working, but what they're actually addicted to is the avoidance of what is going on inside. And the worst part about doing is that it's been idolized by society. If you're a hard worker, it's seen as a good thing. But if we are doing to avoid what is going on inside, if we're doing as a form of escape, as a form of not facing something that is limiting us, then the very act of doing could be the limitation in itself. And underneath all of this achievement is a nervous system that is in complete survival mode. So if you're watching this video, this is a calling. This is a calling to finally have the courage, finally understand what is required to look within so we can step out of doing. Doesn't mean we're not going to do things, but we step out of the energy of doing so we can finally face the things that are creating the greatest limitations in our life. So my name is David Hawes. I work with high achieving men, and a big part of high achieving men is that they're doers. They've made their whole entire career on building something, of accomplishing things, of hard workers, and they're getting a payoff from remaining in that. They're getting a payoff from society. They're being looked up to. They're being pat on the back. And so the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what is it that you're trying to get out of all of this doing? And so there's a bunch of answers here. For me, what I was trying to get out of all of this doing was a provingness, a proving to the world and a proving to myself that I could do it. And so for me, when you're in the energy of proving, that means that you don't believe that you can do it. And so if you're not in the energy of proving, maybe the reason that you're doing it is because you want respect. Maybe you want to feel like you're good enough. Maybe you don't want to feel like the small kid, or for me, it was the smelly kid. Maybe you're trying to avoid a pain that you have buried into some sort of corner. And so a good way to get to the root of what that pain is to ask yourself, what is the feeling that you're after? And I think I can better explain this in an example. Recently, I was on the golf course and I recognized a pattern in myself, a behavior in myself that was unbecoming. I didn't like that part of me. And essentially, if I would miss a putt or hit a bad shot, I would immediately verbally say, like, what an idiot, or how stupid am I? And then I caught that behavior and I asked myself, why am I doing that? What is it that I'm looking for? What I was looking for was for the other golfers I was with to pat me on the back, to pick me up, to make me feel better, to tell me I'm okay, to tell me I'm good enough and that I'm going to be better on the next hole. And in that, I recognized that that energy was weak and I could just be that support system for myself. And so this is the exact same thing I want you to do with your achievement, with your obsession with achievement. I want you to ask, what is it that you're looking for? What is it? Not even so much the materialistic things, but the materialistic things might be a window to go through to come to an understanding of what it is you're going to feel once you achieve that. So if wealth is a goal, and if you obtain wealth, you are going to feel safe. Then that would mean the reverse is true now, that you don't feel safe. And so then when we recognize the thing that we're avoiding, we can begin to start to understand and have the courage to look within and face that. So how would you do that? Well, the first question I was asking myself was, why don't I feel safe? And so that may be because, you don't have enough money. That's probably a simple thing. You don't have security in relationships. You don't have people that support you. You have to fill in the blanks for yourself here. But then I would ask myself, when's the first time I can remember not feeling safe as a kid? And so this will be a doorway to go through. And now just with the awareness that you are trying to achieve or trying to do to avoid the feeling of unsafety, that awareness alone will begin to unpack this thing. More and more realizations will come into your awareness. And then what you'll end up feeling is safe. And now here's the wild thing, is that when you feel the state that you thought accomplishment, wealth, whatever, was going to make you feel, when you feel that thing already before you go get it out there, that is when it flows into your life effortlessly and easy. And this is what I've talked about all the time, is that this work, while it can be heavy, when we unlock these unconscious belief systems, programs, limitations, we then move into a place of flow. We move out of force, because doing and accomplishing, the pain of not even be able to sit still, because every time you sit still, you feel guilty because you're not doing enough, may all be because you have created a belief that the only way you're ever going to feel good enough is if you go and do. And if you start to feel good enough before you go do more, then the thing that you were trying to go do will begin flowing into your life. And so this is, I think, where spiritual growth gets like a bad name, because people think, oh, why do I look within? I just want to keep moving forward. But the reason is we don't have to dwell on this stuff. We just want to bring awareness to it, because that's all that's required to actually heal. And as we bring awareness, everything that we need will unfold for us to heal from that. Then the thing that we are looking for out there flows into our life. It's literally that simple. So the other thing I want to unpack is, like, in this is, you can also look at when you are sitting on the couch, like, and you're trying to relax and can't find yourself. I've caught myself doing this all the time. I'll be swimming in the pool with the kids, and the next thing you know, I'm like scrubbing the liner, and I'm like, well, why can't I just sit here? And it's because there's this guilt that I should be doing more. And if I look at the pool example, I could go even deeper into my limitations, which is like, I don't want to have people over and think my house is dirty or think my pool liner is dirty. So that's why I would go into that. So you can see that there's these emotional pains that we experience throughout our childhood, usually from the ages of 0 to 12, that are still running the show today. And when we learn to unpack these things, then we can have everything that we've ever wanted. We'll be able to relax and enjoy our family and be present with them. We'll be able to step out of the needing to feel a certain way, because we will already feel that way from within. And this is what is possible. So I want to make this really practical for you so that you can walk away and say, okay, these are the questions that I need to answer right here. The first thing is, what is it that you're after, right? And how will that thing make you feel? Then, why don't you feel that way now? Where did it go? When did you start putting the program of doing into play to try and go and feel a certain way? When did you start feeling that way in the first place, right? Just bring awareness to it. The second is noticing the mind and how it tries to get you into action. And the number one way it's going to try and get you into action is by beating yourself up. When you beat yourself up, when you compare, when you tell yourself that you're not good enough, that has been the mechanism to go get you into action. But that mechanism is now the greatest source of your suffering, because you've achieved it all, right? And you're still trying to work hard. You're still trying to beat yourself up into more and more and more action. So recognizing that beating yourself up is just a tool to do more, recognizing that you're doing more to feel a certain way, recognizing also that that feeling is already available to you. We just have to understand what are the tools that we have put in place to avoid feeling the pain that is associated with that. So let me give you my own personal example. So when I was a kid, not that I was poor, but my dad didn't take good care of our household. He didn't take good care of our vehicles. And I felt an immense amount of shame around the house we lived in, the clothes I wore, whatever. And so because of that, I developed the belief system that I needed to make more money so that I would never have to feel that shame being the kid that has less than everybody else ever again. And now this was all unconscious. I was completely unaware of it. And so I began to grind, to hustle, to work hard. All of it was an unconscious avoidance of the shame I experienced as a kid. Once I brought awareness to that, and I felt myself in this like almost like leaning forward, like needing to go so fast, being impatient. That would be another thing that shows up for doers. Being impatient because I was in this race to make sure that I never re-experienced the shame that I was avoiding. And so once I became aware of that, I began to process that shame. I began to notice the behaviors of rushing, of hurrying, of grinding, of hustling. And I began to recognize that those aren't the best tools to go and get what you actually want. Those are actually the tools to avoid the pain that we took on unconsciously as children. And so because of all that, that mechanism of doing began to melt away. And the wild thing was, now that I was no longer doing to avoid, the doing became much more, I guess, focused, much more intentional. Yeah, is a better word. I was no longer doing from this place of having to. I was doing from this place of alignment. And when you move into alignment, when you're doing from a place of courage as opposed to a place of fear, this is when we move into the state of flow. And this is what is possible for every single high achiever. So it's not actually the work that you're addicted to. It's that the work has become a protection from avoiding a pain that you were probably unconscious of. I hope this video helped you. If you got any value whatsoever, just don't forget, hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you again next week.